Welcome to Washington. 2 months ago this week, the massacre at Sandy Hook was the latest in a long and sorry litany of mass shootings. But this one was different because of the age of the victims. The nation was plunged into despair. President Obama said it was the worst day of his presidency, and he vowed to turn his grief into political action. But since then, what has actually changed? Well, in the 2 weeks after Sandy Hook, the sale of assault weapons reached record numbers. The price of ammunition doubled. In fact, by last week, America had run out of ammunition for assault weapons. And the people in the building behind me on Capitol Hill are seriously opposed to any form of change. And then, of course, there's the violence. Since then, 1,690 people in America have been killed by gun violence. 1,690. And the latest incident in California, and by the way, most of them don't reach the headlines. The manhunt continues for Christopher Dorner, a former cop who turned his gun on a fellow police officer and 2 others, killing all 3. That was 6 days ago, and the LAPD has now issued a $1 million reward for his capture. Americans own 300 million guns compared to 250 million vehicles. So in purely numerical terms, the love affair with a gun is even greater than the love affair with a car. So what can be done about all this? In our special series on guns in America, we will look at the potential political changes. And we start in Texas with our correspondent, Jonathan Miller. Now, in the Lone Star State, there are some of the most lax gun regulations in this country. And here, their answer to bad guys with guns is to have more good guys with guns.
Guns are banned inside Little River Academy, Texas. But Sandy Hook's triggered a rethink among Texan teachers about whether their schools should remain gun-free zones.
If this is 1 on 2, then I do Q1 times Q2.
They've had it with maniacs killing kids in their classrooms.
Fire!
It's Sunday morning, and 100 teachers from all around Little River have skipped church to train for a license to carry a gun, with instructors from Big Iron.
Good shooting. You know which way this goes in? Nope.
High-caliber teachers like Gloria and Ashley still aren't permitted to carry weapons in class.
You don't have to keep saying it, Dad.
But the winds of change are blowing across the Lone Star State now. Teachers want to fight back.
Would you use it if that happened to you?
Definitely. Even though they're not my children, they are still my kids that I feel like I need to protect.
If somebody comes after your kids, whether they're your own or whether they're your own in the classroom, you would stop them.
The more folks that realize this school is armed, the teachers are armed in there. Do the predators want that? They want to go, they're looking for gun-free zones. That's where all mass shootings happen.
But you know, the bad guys have the guns. Now the good guys have the guns. This is a totally tooled up society.
Exactly.
Does that scare you?
Well, God made us all different sizes and frames. You know, strengths, weaknesses, ages. Sam Colt made us equal in Smith & Wesson. Pick up your gun and mag. Shove it home. Make it hot. Fingers off the trigger! Get aggressive, ladies. Dirty hear it.
You can remain a target, they say, or you can shoot back. And Texan teachers aren't taking any chances. 500 trained in the course of just 1 month by this one company alone. And 60 more tomorrow.
Cool Hand Luke, Johnny's son, also teaches the teachers.
You would grip it, grab it, and then rip it.
He thinks Barack Obama's plain dumb. In the face of a threat, he says, you don't go and ban guns, you arm up.
The only way to stop a psychopath is with a handgun. You got to stop force with force, and it's a sick deal to have to worry about. You're sending your child off to go get an education. That's the other, you know, that's part of American lifestyle, part of every country's lifestyle. Send your kid off, get an education, have no worries, they're at a safe place. Now people are coming in here and shooting them up. How do you stop a shooting up? You shoot back.
High noon in the Texan state capital, Austin. It's Gun Appreciation Day.
Everybody got a pistol. Everybody got a 45.
Texans love their guns and intend to keep them.
I can see when the other folks give up theirs, I give up mine. This is a violent civilization. Civilization.
Many here think their liberal president is going to try to take their guns away. The Second Amendment to America's 1791 Constitution spells out the sacred right to bear arms. Don't mess with our rights, they warn. Don't mess with Texas.
And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's the eagle. Long may she be free.
Sheriff Mack, 20 years a cop and undercover agent, despairs of the gun control outcry every time mayhem breaks out in a school.
You know the most peaceful, serene sound if you want to create nonviolence, you want to get rid of violence? Have a woman crank a shell in a shotgun into the chamber. The would-be thief, the would-be rapist runs away when he hears that. She doesn't have to fire a shot. She just has to click one into the chamber. And that is the most peaceful sound in the world.
Susanna Hupp wishes to God she'd had her gun one day 20 years ago when a man burst into a cafe just north of Austin and shot dead 23 people, including her parents. If Texan law at the time had allowed her to carry a gun, she says, it might have been different.
My gun was out in my car. So I remember looking around on the floor thinking, great, what do I do now? You know, you can't throw a salt shaker at a guy with a gun. 23 people were killed and I was angry. I can't begin to tell you what it's like to sit there and wait for it to be your turn. To sit there like a fish in a barrel, waiting for it to be your turn. It still makes me mad. The only thing that those gun laws at that time did was prevent people like me and a few others in that restaurant from protecting ourselves. Guarantee? No. Change the odds? Darn right.
And as for the president, well, he's just darn wrong, says Susanna Hupp. He wants to restrict sales of high-capacity magazines holding more than 10 rounds. They've been used in all recent U.S. mass killings. She says banning them won't make a blind bit of difference.
In my situation with my shooter, the guy changed magazines repeatedly. It takes 1 second to change a magazine. So I don't care if you allow 2 bullets or 100 bullets. It takes literally 1 second. They press a little button on the side, it drops out, they slam another one in. That's how long it takes.
We headed out west to a trailer park to go see a man who had a gun in the right place at the right time. Normally, Vic Stacy shoots feral hogs. One day last year, though, he shot one of his neighbors. There was a commotion. By the time Vic heard it, Charlie, the neighbor, had already gunned down one of the trailer park's residents and was now shooting at a woman who lived here.
When I walked to the front of the RV, hell, there she laid in a pool of blood, bleeding out right there. And I thought, God almighty.
A cop pulled up and was immediately pinned down by gunfire.
Charlie, he went to pumping the lead at him, and I thought, man, that boy hadn't got a chance.
Vic took aim at Charlie with his pistol.
Brown asked me, said, you going to shoot at him again? I said, yeah, I am. I said, I'm going to try to kill him if I can.
Vic shot Charlie dead, saving the cop's life and the lives of the trailer park's other residents. No one had known that Charlie had an arsenal stashed in his trailer. But then again, so did Vic.
I wouldn't have never pulled a gun on a human being in my life until I run on to what I did that day.
And you have any regrets?
No, I don't. I did there for a while, and me and the Lord had a pretty good talk over this thing since it happened.
A good guy with a gun had stopped a bad guy with a gun. Vic wanted to show me his AR-15, which, with a big enough magazine, can fire more than 50 rounds a minute. This is what President Obama calls an assault rifle, the type of gun he wants banned. The Sandy Hook school shooter had one.
How would you explain to people in New York, or for that matter, London, why a gun that big and that powerful is necessary for civilians to have their hands on?
It's not necessary to have one this big, not unless you're going to do some hunting, you know?
So it's a hunting rifle?
Yeah, yeah. And if you're going to shoot wild hogs or maybe deer, they're good to shoot deer and hogs too. But people up in New York, I don't know what they would be needing one for.
Everybody got a pistol. Everybody got a 45.
All across America, the gunners, as they're known, say the problem ain't the guns, it's the people. Their solution to gun violence, more guns in the right people's hands.
To many Texans, stricter gun controls wouldn't just infringe their rights, they also wouldn't stop people being shot. So as Barack Obama prepares his assault on big guns, here in Texas, they're preparing to make a stand. There will be blood. Jonathan Miller, Channel 4 News, Texas.
From the dusty plains of Texas to the urban jungle of Chicago's notorious South Side, where they have a Sandy Hook massacre in terms of numbers every 2 weeks. Chicago is, of course, Barack Obama's hometown. He will be there tomorrow, rather on Friday, to make his case for guns. And tomorrow he'll be on Capitol Hill to make the moral and political case for gun control in the State of the Union address. We'll be in Chicago reporting tomorrow, and we'll ask how much the president can actually change anything if his hands are tied by custom, by votes, and by the Constitution.